President Ruto and all the other heads of state who have been here and have helped to get us on this pathway. What's on display today is unity. Leaders from across the continent have come together to find common ground in their unique aspirations. We have put focus on how these aspirations can join with a well-resourced and efficient IDA to make generational change happen, but also how these aspirations will require work to be realized. The African continent boasts a youthful, vibrant population, the fastest growing in the world. It holds vast natural resources, fertile land, and a flourishing and entrepreneurial spirit. But on the other side are a set of well-defined challenges that have too often eclipsed these blessings. That is the backdrop we face. Africa at a crossroads. The path we choose will determine the path and the future for generations to come. Do we accept the status quo, a future where millions remain trapped in poverty, where the fundamental human right of electricity is elusive, healthcare accessibility is inadequate, and infrastructure is insufficient to support the potential of the continent and its people? Or do we seize the opportunity to unlock that potential and usher in an era of prosperity and progress? The World Bank and its people believe that the answer is clear. Africa can and must chart a course towards a brighter future. And this is not a pipe dream. We have seen the success stories in countries that took advantage of IDA, embraced good governance, invested in education and infrastructure, and fostered an environment where businesses can thrive. And in doing so, they have helped over the years to blaze a trail for others to follow. We began in the 1960s with Korea, South Korea, boasting a well-educated population but lacking capital and industry. China's story started later. In 1978, 770 million people in China lived on the edge of poverty, facing low economic growth due to lack of market competition and rigid policies on prices and mobility. India's path unfolded in the 90s and the 2000s. The country had to grapple with high poverty, held back by heavily regulated markets, dominant public sector monopolies, and unbalanced trade. Today, each of these is a country on the move. Each has transitioned from an IDA borrower to an IDA donor. But their journeys have common threads and lessons that I think are relevant for all of us. All three countries saw governments playing a crucial role in creating an environment that is conducive to growth, to private sector growth, domestic and international. They provided clarity on regulatory policy, implemented those reforms to attract that investment, domestic and foreign, and fostered a competitive landscape. Each nation benefited from a significant rise in the working age population during crucial development phases, and they invested in their people to realize that demographic dividend. And that provided a skilled and readily available workforce. Each recognized the importance of trade and competitive advantages as an engine of growth. They implemented policies to reduce barriers. They built strong domestic manufacturing and service sectors, which opened the door to rapid economic expansion. All three utilized IDA for strategic investments in education, in healthcare, in rural development, areas crucial for any developing nation. They are not alone. 36 countries have successfully graduated from IDA, 12 of them just since 2000. That is the transformative power of development assistance done right. Looking at Africa, I can see some very promising parallels. Several African nations are experiencing economic growth and implementing reforms to attract private investment. Many share a similar demographic trajectory with a projected rise in the working age population. And like these other challenges, Africa's countries also face their issues. Compared to the Asian tigers, private sector investment in Africa remains low. Infrastructure bottlenecks and limited access to finance further hinder growth. And the headwinds of debt, climate, and conflict restrain progress. So at this very juncture lies the promise of the kind of development effort that today has brought together government leaders, the international community, and the private sector. We all must be partners in progress. We have a mission-critical role to play, each of us, with governments leading on their own development agendas and IDA as their partner at the core of those strategies. The story of economic development is not a one-size-fits-all approach, but by understanding the journeys of successful nations and applying the lessons learned, Africa can chart its own course towards a much brighter economic future. First, invest in our people. A skilled, educated, healthy workforce, digitally savvy, including women, is the bedrock of any thriving economy. A skilled, educated, healthy workforce, digitally savvy, including women. We need to ensure that every child has access to quality education, from primary school to vocational training and beyond. We must work to make healthcare accessible to them. And to confront that challenge, we're using IDA to support our goal of providing quality, affordable healthcare to 1.5 billion people globally in 5 years. We just announced this in our spring meetings, expanding our work to new communities and broadening the scope of our services to include every stage of a person's life. Second, by building efficient and robust infrastructure. And I'm going to say that does not just mean rail or roads or homes or bridges, but energy and energy infrastructure. I believe access to electricity is a fundamental human right, and I believe it is foundational to any successful development effort. And yet half the population of Africa, 600 million people, lack access to electricity. And that's why at the spring meetings we announced we are working to deliver energy to 300 million Africans by 2030, 250 million with the World Bank Group, 50 million partnering with my friend Aki Nadasena at the African Development Bank. Third, support job-creating, value-added industries like agriculture and logistics, the warehousing and transport of that agriculture as an example, where the private sector could eventually come in to help farmers access new markets, entrepreneurs connect with customers, and young people access information and opportunity. So taking agriculture, it's an area of vast economic potential for Africa, but there are two problems. One, only 6 to 7% of the farmland is irrigated. And as I said in a session earlier, 37% is that same number for Asia. Two, Africa has one of the lowest rates of fertilizer usage in the world. That leads to yields that are 1/3 the global average. If we focus our investment in the right fertilizer and the right soil and irrigation, we can responsibly grow crops and grow opportunity. Made in Africa, and for the world. That's the objective. So we've discussed 5 main areas where we believe jobs growth and the future of Africa can come from. Energy and the downstream effects of energy, not just generation and distribution, but what it enables. Infrastructure, rail, logistics, warehousing, transport, roads, homes. Third, healthcare. Think of the primary health centers in that 1.5 billion people pledge. They will create jobs for nurses, medical technicians, doctors, PPE manufacturing, medicine manufacturing. And then agribusiness, as I just spoke to. And last but not least, tourism, an area in which Africa has already made some progress, but the opportunities are limitless. The World Bank is committed to playing its part in all of these areas. We will continue to provide financial resources, technical expertise, and policy advice. We commit to work alongside governments to help implement difficult reforms as they pursue them. But we are joined in this endeavor by an army of friends and partners from the private and advocacy sectors. In a few moments, you will hear from leaders of this unique coalition who are taking early action in support of IDA and Africa. They are essential in our push to make sure that governments have the resources and the support that they need to realize the potential we are speaking of. I'm looking forward to joining them again later this year at the big conference in Côte d'Ivoire to support the IDA 21 replenishment. But the ultimate responsibility lies with Africa itself. Its leaders must embrace bold reforms, fight corruption, invest in their people. They must create an environment where creativity flourishes and innovation thrives. The future of Africa is not predetermined. It is a choice between stagnation and progress, despair and hope. Let us choose the path of greatest potential. Let's choose a brighter, more prosperous future for Africa. a future where every child has the opportunity to thrive, and count on the World Bank Group and its people to be by your side, to be the hand on your back. We commit that to you. Thank you very much.